Hey everybody, it is with thanks to Triumph UK themselves that I have the Triumph Bobber 1200 on loan for about 10 days, something like that. I've had it for one day and I've done a couple of short rides because the weather's been terrible, but today is the first opportunity I've had to get out and try it in the country roads. Now this is my first ride, this is me just jumping on the bike, my instant emotional feeling about it, things that jump out at me, things that I just, I notice and want to talk about. The review, which comes at the end of the time I've had this bike, is the proper video where you get all the ins and outs of what's good, what's not, any little things I don't like, any things I do like, this is the emotional side, that will be the full-on actual review. It's a real shame that my first rides get way more views than my reviews because there is way more information in the review compared to this. But it is what it is. I can't really change the way that people watch videos. I'm just glad that you do. But I would ask, if you do enjoy the videos, please hit that like button. It would help me a lot. Okay, so a few things to point out before we get going. It is a twin 1200cc. It produces about 77 brake horsepower and 106 Newton meters at 4,000 RPM. So 1200 cc's and 77 brake horsepower is not a lot. My XJ6 Diversion has got 600 cc's and it's got 78 brake horsepower. So it's actually got the same amount, even though this has got double the displacement. But this has got a ton of torque. 106 Newton meters from 4,000 RPM. One last thing before we get going. The exhaust run on this is actually really clever. This is Euro 5, it in fact exceeds Euro 5, and you might be like, well, where is the catalytic converter in that exhaust system, given that this is mirrored on both sides? The truth of it is, and this has been done very slyly, the pipe comes out of here, goes down here, it then goes into a catalytic converter onto the bike and meets up with the other side doing the exact same thing. It then comes out the catalytic converter, back round into this tube here, and then out the exhaust. This section in here, there's no pipe. That, to get around the problem of, needing a catalytic converter on this style of bike is fantastic. You can't see the cat. I mean, you kind of can through there, and if you come from the front here, you can actually see it down there. But from a few feet, it's just not something you notice. Your eye just passes over it. It wasn't until I suddenly thought, where's the cat, that I looked at the exhaust closely. 12-litre tank, which I believe is bigger than previous years' bikes, which people will be pleased about. Side-mounted ignition, of course. Slightly wobbly side-mounted ignition, but it's on rubber mounts, that's why it moves. As for modes and tech and buttons and things like that, I do think that these possibly could have been a bit more retro-y rather than just very plastic, grey plastic. It fits in okay, but I feel like with all the extra effort that's been put on this, they even put like what looks like brass bits down here and there's things like that. You'd expect these to be a little bit more, if you know what I mean. But anyway, it's got the traction control system, the basic Triumph traction control system where you just have road and rain. Not lots of other different things, it's just road and rain. There is cruise control on this, not that I'm really interested in that. It's got some basic information on here like trip and average MPG and that sort of stuff. Average has been 55.5 miles to the gallon, if you're wondering. And I think that's saying I have a 54 mile range. Also to note that this is on a quick release. On the back it looks like a push bike seat post quick release, or wheel quick release, and you can fold it down and up depending on the angle that you want. Enough talking, let's get riding because you've got to hear this thing. First things first, I am not really into cruisers or bobbers or any of this style of bike. It's never really been my thing. I love anything with two wheels. It's better than something with four wheels, no matter what it is. But the style of these bikes has never really grabbed me. But when I saw this one, I thought, you know what, that actually looks really nice. It's because every bobber and things like that I see, there's always something about the design that I just don't like. I don't know if it's too try-hardy, too shiny, too I don't know what. I don't know. It just doesn't sit right with me. This thing looks cool. This has got back end like a 1940s, 1950s bobber. It's got a mix of what looks like a retro old bike but beefed up in a very Triumph-y way. I have never been in 5th or 6th gear on this bike. I'm currently in 4th, which it absolutely doesn't need to be in. But I'm doing 55 at 2,850 RPM. This has got such a long gearbox on it, but it's because it's got that torque, and it means that you can just cruise so smoothly. The ride on it is very nice. It's actually really comfortable. I'm 6'4" and about 15.5 stone, and I fit on this perfectly. I thought this little, this little cup seat, flying seat, would be maybe very uncomfortable, but it's actually really comfortable. The position's really nice. I'm nice and upright. The grips are really chunky and fat, and that's something I do like. The levers on this are that thick, I'd call cruiser style lever, you know, and it's just a bit thick and rounded. I don't really like that style of lever. I really don't, if I'm honest. I prefer something that's a little tighter and I can get my finger around, but I totally get why it's on this bike. Oh! The suspension is quite firm still, but that bump gets every Triumph I've ridden. In fact, it gets pretty much every bike I've ridden, apart from a DR and a couple of other things. See what I mean? This is what this bike's about. Yeah, it's got the torque assisted clutch, so the clutch itself actually is very light. I'm worried about scraping the pegs because I'm getting very close here. Every time I lean this thing over, it's only a matter of time before I do actually touch one of them down, and then I'll know the limit. Oh, it's pretty wet down here, not too bad yet. This has got a very strong dead ahead feel to it, you know, because it's been raked out for this style of bike. So it feels different to corner. You have to really sort of lean it and corner from the middle of the bike, but that torque. Aha! God, the vibrations in these bars when it's high RPMs make stuff in the mirrors just turn into blurry dots. They also turn into much smaller dots. But it's not ridiculously quick. This isn't savage speed. It's just torquey. And as I say, because it's got that long gearing and all this torque, you really don't need to change gear much. You can just sit in like second here, for instance, and I can do 30 miles an hour, but I can also open it up, even uphill, and it picks up. This is a question from my patrons, as the way that I work things, this bike will be back with Triumph before the first video goes live to everyone on YouTube. Patrons get videos. It says I promised them it's three days early, but it ends up being about a week or so depending on how things are going. So it's very often that I can't answer questions from the YouTube audience because the bike's already gone back. But the patrons can ask me questions. So patrons, if there's anything you want to know about this bike that I can do a video on, or something like that, comment away. Let me know. I'm doing like 27 miles an hour in second gear. It's doing 2,500 RPM-ish, and it's perfectly smooth. It's just the points that you accelerate that you get some proper rumbles. And if you didn't have them, it wouldn't be right, I would have thought. It feels nice to ride quite slowly, and that is a really good selling point for a bike in the UK now. I was only thinking about this a little while ago, about how when I started doing bike reviews, doing the top speed runs like on the 125s was relatively easy, you know, because the traffic wasn't too bad. In recent years, it's gone from like being able to do 1 or 2 runs up the dual carriageway to get my top speed, to having to do 6 or 7 because the traffic is that much or is just moving that slowly. And then I'm only trying to get up to like 70 mile an hour. As I say, these are like 125cc bikes. Having super fast sports bikes, I mean, I know if you're into sports bikes, you're not going to want one of these. I mean, some people are just, you know, I'll have anything. But I think we can all like things, but the one thing you want to own normally is the thing that your heart's closest to. Like, I own a DRZ 400SM because I absolutely love supermotos. I mean, I hardly ever get to ride the thing. It just makes me sad as it sits in my carriage. Don't worry, it's getting fixed. It'll be back soon. Here we go. slow down a little bit. He's the tiger. Feels so good. And there's this low down lean to it, and you don't feel like you have a lot of lean, but it just feels fantastic. It's got good engine braking on it, not savage like I might have expected from something with 1200 cc's and only 2 cylinders, but it's pretty good. I mean, the reason it's lessened is because of that torque assisted clutch. The price of this bike is around 12 grand. If you want one of the special paint jobs like this one, it's an extra 350 quid. They also do a pack that's got some high cables and and a seat and a few other bits and pieces on it. It's about an extra grand. So, if you want all the bells and whistles, well, there is a lot more bells and whistles actually that Triumph offer. If you go to the website, you can configure the bike for how you'd want and see what price it would be. But basically, you're looking at around 12 grand if you want the base one. And if you want to do some, some customizations through the Triumph options, maybe 14, depending on, if you go nuts, you probably can go higher than that. But I don't know if you want to do that with this. This is about old school simplistic biking. And look at this, I'm not even touching the clutch, I'm in first. No one go right, 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 no one go right. Come on, don't go right. Oh no, no, you're the worst one that could have come down here. No, I'm not sitting behind that camper van and having it ruining this road for me. I'll wait here for a minute. Got to change up the view. Probably look pretty cool. Yeah, my first impressions of this bike are that, I'm not really into this style of bike, but I thought this one looked really good, so I thought, let's take it for a ride. And I'm loving it. I'm really, really enjoying this bike very much. If you don't have to do, I wouldn't want to do like long distance on this thing, necessarily, but you could. It's comfortable. The only thing is it's got absolutely zero wind protection, but then that's just the style of bike that it is. Fourth gear is 60 mile an hour going up this hill is 3,000 RPM. Sixth gear, 60 mile an hour, 2,500 RPM. Like, it barely feels like it's running. That is too high a gear. I really do feel like they could have shortened the gearing a little bit. I'm going to have to stick some fuel in this the way home because I've got about a 38 mile range remaining. And it'll be interesting to know what it's like to ride this bike with a full tank of fuel opposed to a quite empty tank of fuel, because obviously that aids to the weight being low down. Oh, I shouldn't mention the weight actually. This thing weighs 251 kilos. 251 kilos. It does not feel anywhere near that heavy. In the slightest. I haven't tried picking it up off the ground, obviously, but it doesn't feel anything like that. Well, I think I'm going to call into my first ride here because I do feel like I now understand this bike much better than I did this morning. This morning, I'd only ridden it on 30 mile an hour roads and I was enjoying cruising around on it. Now I've ridden this in some country roads, I've got it through some corners, I've used the power. I think it's great. I think some people might say it's lacking power a little bit. For the 1200 cc's, having less than 80 brake horsepower is not a huge amount, and 106 newton meters of torque is a lot, admittedly. But equally, it's not so staggeringly high that that, you know, it's exceptional. But I don't think that's what this bike is about. You know, as I say, this is about cruising, this is about comfortable riding, this is about using the torque. And I do love using it. So yeah, if you found this video interesting or useful, please do hit that like button. I would really, really appreciate it. Very few people remember to do that, even though they definitely remember to watch my videos, and it would really help me if you could actually remember to hit the like button. I mean, I normally get less likes on my videos than people who pay through Patreon to help support it. And if you want to be one of those people that help support this channel and gets the videos early and stuff like that, then consider joining my Patreon. It costs as little as about £1 a month, gives you all sorts of benefits. Member of the Discord, you can come talk to me in there. You know, I'm playing Call of Duty and stuff with my subscribers all the time. Every day we're chatting. So if you'd like to be part of that, check out the link in the description. Otherwise, I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.